Okay, so we're going to start with the communication plan, item 2. Is that good?
Yes, and so to expedite our discussion, I have some background, but I think I can go through this pretty quickly. We have a commission duties, which we've all looked at, and the City Council's now approved the new duties. And as part of the work plan, which we developed last month, we know what that entails, and it was attached to your agenda. Now, we're going to kind of go to the same approach. We're going to try and write it and get to a 99% agreement, and then there might be a word or two that was changed. So when you look at the work plan, it strictly relates and reflects everything we talked about, but there might have been a word or two changed. So I gave it to you just in case we missed something or there's a typo there or something that you want. But in essence, we didn't change anything to the work plan that we're going to present to council on November 12th, November 14th. We'd like to do the same thing with the communication plan. We'll try to do it here with a little wiggle room and finalize maybe the wording as needed. But we'd like to bring that because at August, City Council approved a minute motion to include a communications plan in the work plan. We're going to interpret that to say a separate item because the work plan says what you're going to do. In our work plan has a communication plan. I think they just didn't want to say include an item about the communication plan. They actually wanted to see one. That's why we're going to try. We developed one, and we're looking at it right now. And the idea is this communication plan, what we're working on, will include regular reports from this commission to the City Council. It's going to be coordinated with the staff's requirement to make a semi-annual traffic report, transportation report. And then on top of that, it was noted at the August meeting that the chair is invited to attend, I would say mostly expected to attend, City Council meetings whenever there's an action item related to the work plan, and ideally we would have brought it to you, you would have made a recommendation, and then when it goes to council, the expectation is that somebody from the commission, the chair or a designee, would be able to provide input and answer questions about what went on in the meeting if the City Council has those questions.
That's great.
That's our starting point. Is that clear for everybody? Okay. So, well, and then the next step will be we'll be going to the City Council to approve the work plan and to ask for guidance on the communication plan. They're not expected to approve the communication plan. This will eventually, if all goes well, they may give a little bit of guidance or we'll get some closure on the communication plan. Then we'll create what's called the rules and regulations, which will govern how we run meetings here. That does not have to be approved by City Council. So the communication plan is kind of our reality check with City Council. They don't want to get into all the details of our rules and regulations, which are minutia, but at a high level, the communication plan will kind of tell them how we're going to communicate with each other.
And just one clarification, it'll be November 12th, will be the City Council.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, sorry.
Just hold on to all.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay, so with that precursor, we have this. And what I did was I took the liberty of meeting with staff and taking Commissioner Linke's recommendation that you all got Friday. And what we felt was, in essence, we're all going down the same path. And it's a matter of wordsmithing in some cases, and we're going to try. And in some cases, we felt there was a better way to get to the issue that Mr. Linke was getting at, or at least conveyed to me. So now we close the loop, and hopefully we can all agree on, what wording would happen. And in a couple of cases, staff just said we would rather keep it the way it is for certain reasons. So. Let's see, the best way to do this, maybe to start off, does anybody have anything that they would like to add to the comments that Commissioner Linke had, or would you like to go through Commissioner Linke's comments, and as we go through them, you can add at that point? because I want to treat you all equally, and I want to feel like just because a commissioner submitted something that gives it no extra value, but it just helped us to gravitate to something.
Just for clarification, the one that's here is different?
Correct. So this is essentially staff's revised staff recommendation.
But they don't have
So
a
it
hard
does
copy?
not, you don't have it because I was typing it while the
We have
kids
to
were
highlight it.
speaking. No, it's a little bit different, and I'll point out what's different.
Okay.
So we started as Commissioner meetings as a base. We agreed for the most part with all the issues, except for, and we'll walk through and why we propose different language.
Could you maybe increase the size of the percent, unless everybody else can read it a little bit
No,
closer?
thank you.
Is that good?
Like
You
100%?
want to
or-
send
think
to
on the
my
bottom right
email
there.
and I'll print?
Right one?
Wait a
No?
minute.
Do you want to send that to my email and I'll print it?
We'll get it. We'll be changing it as we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
Increase the view.
No, it's bottom right corner.
oh, here we go. Okay. Is that good? Anyone
Thank you.
younger than me probably doesn't have a problem with that, but yeah, I can see clear. Okay, so I don't think there was much, the goals are the goals of the communication plan. That's not going to drive mine, I thought that was okay. I believe, or we interpreted the issue, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the real issue we've heard here is that sometimes items you felt that you were bypassed, and that you want to make sure that city council did not take action on something before it came here. So to do that, we put in a new bullet from the beginning, and it essentially says, you know, that if city council is going to take action on it, it will come here. Which is a little bit different than what Steve, he tried to revise it, but I think this is a little bit more directly related to the question that was asked.
So Doug, I think there might be a bit of a duplication of statements in the first bullet. So it says, when city staff plans to bring forward items related to the work plan to city council for action to the planning commission or city council. So I would say, related to the work plan for action to the planning commission or
Yes.
city council, call it, so,
Sorry.
something like that.
So that means everything that goes to the council for action is going to come here first.
And do you still need the highlighted language in number 1, given your additional language in the bullet?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. So so if we did that, I didn't get to there yet, we would recommend deleting that because that's no longer relevant.
These highlights.
It's kind of redundant, but we would keep in for action here. We would go back and keep in for action because again, if it's city council and they're going to take action, they should have your recommendation from the first bullet. So, any problem with that?
Comments? No?
And if you plan to bring a mobility-related item to the city council, it's not on our work plan. Is that addressed?
Well, if it's not related to your work plan, yeah, our staff brings it there all the time. I mean, you know, so you have mobility related or not? I mean, you know, that's, the city council has a lot that has nothing to do with your work plan, so that's a slippery slope. That's what the work plan is supposed to intend to say, this is a council priority that they want you to take a look at. So anything that's related to the work plan should be coming to you first.
Okay, and but what about items that, if we set our work plan in May for the fiscal year, and then in June or July, an issue comes up that's definitely a mobility-related issue, and staff develops something over the next 4 months. If it wasn't in our work plan at the beginning of the year, then a whole year could go by, and things that should be on our work plan that we didn't realize in that, when we developed it in May, we didn't realize that that was going to be an issue. how would that be?
That'll be addressed down lower with one of your recommendations. So there is something in there already that says you can make periodic reports to update your work plan and to bring items to the attention of the city council that you want to. So that'll be there. But we can put a pause on this. You don't have to stamp it, but I believe that's addressed somewhere else. This is, and I think it was your issue, no bypassing.
Right, so from my understanding, if everybody has goodwill, this is minimum that we're not gonna bypass for sure on the items that are in our work plan.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that any other mobility-related items are not gonna come to us if they're gonna go to council, and they're not in our work plan.
Correct, and that will get to what the city traffic engineer's comments, that he'll make sure that we're forward-looking and in the review mirror, telling you what's going to council, so there's no surprises. So that's another part of it, but
Yeah.
I think that's,
I think it's a good start.
Yeah.
Brendan?
No, I'm good.
you good? So that takes care of this, and again, the 3 bullets, I put them as 3 items, but it's essentially the same thing that Commissioner Linke wrote. I just put them down as easier to read that way. The next part here, I think the issue was that when we don't have minutes, that we make sure that adequate data was included. And I think the best way to say that, instead of trying to guess what was in it, if we don't have approved minutes, we will use draft minutes, which are not going to be just action items, but they'll be action summary minutes. So critical comments and public comments will be included along with the action that's taken. So it'll have a little meat to it, but not a full narrative of everything that went on in the meeting.
And why do you think there will be times when you're not gonna have approved? Or because of, they need to come to us to approve them and then send it to them?
Yes, and that might happen quite often. There might be a lot of times when just to squeeze in the time, we'll bring it to you, you'll have a recommendation, and then before you meet another time, we'll have to have the staff report.
And I think one thing I'd like to point out is I think this overall communications plan contemplates that the chair and the designee would come to council on items as well. So it'll be buttressed by the fact that someone from the commission should be there and can provide the additional input in that way.
Yeah.
So if you don't have something in the minutes that you want to talk about, you would convey that to the,
Yeah. Comments?
I think what would be ideal to get draft minutes, and this is applied to other boards I've been on, that the minutes are produced soon after the meeting when it's fresh in everybody's mind. And if they're going to be going to the city council before our next meeting, we can't get the minutes in the agenda packet for our next meeting. So if the chair or the designee that goes to the city council, that person needs to see the minutes that are going to go to the city council. It'd be nice for all of us to get them. And that's not in the communications plan, but it's something I put in my proposed rules and regulations, is that the minutes should come out soon after the meeting, when it's fresh in the minutes clerk's mind, when it's fresh in all of our minds, rather than ideally.
when we get to there, that's the last bit.
Yeah,
And
that's
I think
fair.
we'll have intent and goals and targets as best as we can. So, yeah, I think that gets addressed, or we can discuss that a little bit now. Okay, so the next thing is the city traffic engineer's comments, and I think this is essentially to say you'll get a status report on, and I combined, the letter originally had 3 items, but I combined 2 and 3, because I think what the point is with or without, whether you have given, if you've had prior commission review, either way, if an item's going to go to city council, it's related to your work plan, you'll get a preview and then you'll get a follow-up.
So on that one, I purposely made the third one, which is, I think, distinct from that because it's not related to the city council, it's related to other requests that commissioners have made. and I know we can't direct staff to do things, but the types of items I was referring to with that were not things that would go to the city council, but questions that we would ask at, like during our commissioner comments, like we might ask, like Commissioner Hunter asks about the trap lane, and that's not something that would go to city council, but if that's a pending request that we've made.
Oh, that's what you meant by.
So the word action, I think, misled. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you would have on 3, I don't know if that's worded well, but no offense, but I think we need to follow
Request,
up on
other
commission
commission requests instead of
requests.
actions.
Yes,
Yeah.
updates.
So yeah, that was my poor choice of words, so what I meant was other pending commission requests. For example, we had a comment today, maybe at the end someone might ask to have staff review the crossing guard that was hit. But that's not something that would go to city council, it would just be, here's a list of the things that the commission has requested. And staff's response might be that we're not gonna do it, and that's okay in many cases, I'm sure, if we just, like, we don't have the resources to do it, or if you have a legitimate reason, then we'll just knock it off.
That sound good?
I don't know if it's actions or requests.
Request.
Or unresolved issues.
It's request.
Requests from the commission.
And status report is up above, so you can just say, status report on is up above. So
Yeah.
Just there you go. Yeah, that was my intent.
Does that get there?
Yeah.
Okay. The annual work plan, I think we got that nailed. Partition and commission meetings. Now this is kind of critical to see here that already the Muni Code says that you will provide periodic written reports. We haven't gotten into the details of that, but if you wish, you can write reports, periodic reports to the council, which include any of these 5 items. So that kind of gets to what we were talking about, is you can always take action on that, and you can put in an agenda item for one of these 5 items, which is pretty broad. Recent activities, attendance, ad hoc committees, proposed amendments to the work plan, and matters which the commission wishes to bring to the attention of the council. That gives you a lot of latitude. So since you can do it there, you obviously can add it to your agenda. Otherwise, we would be not allowed to do that. We didn't want to be redundant, but you can add anything to the agenda to do any of those 5 things. Does that sound like it addressed it? Okay. We talked about this. In addition, there's an expectation that the commission chair or some other designee will participate in the semi-annual update that staff is going to do. And that should be coordinated with a regular report from this commission to the city council. I don't know if it's the same time, but it would be nice to have both speaking at the same time.
I think that was the intent,
That's
that
the
city
intent.
council had asked that when staff goes to make the semi-annual transportation report, that someone from the commission be there to comment.
Yeah. And, we're trying to go together, but it's separate, and you can comment on it. Annual work plan, you'd be there to ask, so you have been invited. All of you have had an invitation to come there on November 12th. And then affirm recommendations that you make and provide input for action items in front of the city council. And then there is another, okay, so you have the latitude to have other things assigned to you. So then we get to this, and this is the part where it kind of gets to a lot of what the commission has said, and we're trying to hear what you said, work within the framework that we can't be different than other commissions, and while we can't tell city council or the city clerk what to do, we can convey to them what's important to you. So that's what we're trying to find that balance. So you'll find this is where not everything was agreed to, but there's a reason behind it. So, but in general, we agreed. We just thought in this case, there's a little bit of wording. So if items requested by a majority of commission vote shall be agendized within a reasonable time if they are related to the work plan and staff resources are available. The commission may place a time certain item on their agenda. So you can always put something on your agenda, but if you need a time certain, we're going to limit it to the ones that are on the code that I just showed you, the 5 items, which are pretty generous.
Should be resources, middle, second line.
So for this type of agenda item, I wouldn't anticipate staff resources being needed to be available. If it's an item that we want, a concern that the commission brings up, isn't necessarily an issue of the staff resources, I would think, but.
So I think they're separate statements, right, Doug? I think the first sentence and the second sentence are separate statements.
You know, we could put them as separate bullets. They were one, but I think that's a good recommendation.
That's my understanding.
So an example, maybe if we could, the lady that was up here earlier that says you need a comprehensive report and look at a human scale factor, there's no way we could turn that around in a month. So, you know, it's not realistic for us to expect that without going to city council and saying we need to change the work plan, although this one just happens to be in our work plan. If it didn't, we would have to go to council and say, look, for us to do something that robust, we would need resources.
Budget.
Yeah.
And was paragraph D forgotten? Is that-
That's the 5 things
That's
that.
the five.
Doug-
That's a 5. All right. Here is one that, and Commissioner Linky and I, it's 6 of one, half a dozen in the other. A lot of people have touched this. We just felt like it's our commitment to get the agenda out 5 days in advance. We realize that getting it out Friday is not helping you to review it, and it's not helping us if we have input. So we are going to target 5 days. And the wording on it, well, we don't disagree. We just thought that the way it is the same. It's just a different way of saying it. So other people have reviewed this document, so we wanted to kind of try to keep changes to the bare minimum. And we didn't feel it changed anything, really. It's like feasible versus best efforts. So we're recommending keeping it as originally
So
worded.
what, is that the language though from Lincoln's, right?
This is exactly what Commissioner Linky proposed in yellow, and we're saying take out the yellow and keep it the way it was.
Okay.
So instead of saying we commit to 72 hours if possible, we're saying we're committing, or we're saying commit to 72 hours. We will meet the Brown Act. We have to. But we will commit to the Brown Act, and in addition to that, we will strive and target 5 days in advance. Where I think your rewriting of it is, we'll try everything we can to get it 5 days in advance, and at a minimum, we'll make sure it's 72 hours. So it's 6 and 1/2 dozen in the end.
So when I first got on the commission, we were getting our agenda packets 6 days in advance, and then it whittled down to the last 2 meetings, it was Friday. And I think it's important that it's clear, like that maybe the city council give staff a clear direction that an effort, a good effort needs to be made, especially in our case when we have Monday meetings, that we get our packets earlier. So I don't know what the rest of the
I think this is good. I mean, again, if,
but they're not agreeing with it, but they want it to be 72 hours and we'll make an effort to.
no, they want to,
Either way, it's the same way. It's just a matter of wording.
so
But
you're not leaving it the way it is? You want to take out the highlighted? I'm confused what the highlighted.
they both say the same thing. It's like, I don't think Steve was saying you shall do it 5 days in advance. You're just saying you like to use the word best effort as opposed to saying when it's feasible.
Right.
We're too soft. We're a little soft.
And best efforts has a legal meaning behind it, not that we're gonna use the legal meeting, but that you will make, every possible effort to do it. And I don't know why it was on Friday for those 2 meetings, but it's very,
I can tell you because we were writing, I was literally writing this while the people were there. I mean, there's certain times where we're crunched to get the review and the staff reports and the proper input in there. So there's nothing, I can tell you, there's no, we don't hold it until the last second. It's if there's no staff report finalized, it's not ready to go out, we can't circulate.
So what is the staff proposing? Because I'm confused.
So do you have in the agenda packet, the
Yeah.
version that staff distributed? They're proposing
It's the
to keep
original,
the,
correct.
right.
I have a question with respect to what it means. One of the things that you mentioned, Steve, is that for city council, 5 days for them, since they have a Tuesday meeting, that means Thursday. So for us, would that be Wednesday?
right, that's what I was proposing. And that, in my experience, because I'm on the mailing list for the city council, those agenda packets always come out on Thursdays. And they have their meetings on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And then in between that Thursday and Tuesday, staff meets with the city council to give them in-person briefings, or they can answer questions. Now, I'm not asking it to be that formal, but I would like something in between where if we have questions, maybe, for example, we had the speed bumps that one time, and I had like 8 questions. And I didn't want to take up time of our meeting to ask those questions, or have the person come here and say, oh, I don't have the answers to those questions. So I submitted them in writing to the staff contact. She wrote back and with answers, and it makes everything run more smoothly. If we get our packets on Friday, we can't ask questions in advance. We barely have time to review it over the weekend. And it's not theoretical, it's slipped to Friday several times. So to follow the city council practice, I think we should have to make an effort to get it to us on Wednesday, which is the same time frame you just described.
I think the day, Wednesday versus Thursday is also important because half the staff is gone on Friday.
Friday.
Okay, we have a, city staff will use best effort, use their best effort.
You just say, we'll use that
Publicly
stuff.
Kind of, that's just a couple things added, so instead of,
Yeah.
let's leave it.
I personally like the Linky's version, having the 5 days, and then if it's not feasible, having minimum 72 hours.
Okay, we're saying that it's just a matter of wording. We're both saying the same thing. We're gonna have it in 5 days. So now we're saying, this is what we're proposing to change.
Yeah, but I like the 5 days before the 72 hours.
You wanted to first say 5 days.
That's why I voted that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we have a heartburn with that.
There's no legal distinction.
So city staff sentence before at the beginning?
So then we expected most of the time to be 5 days, and some of the time lesser than the most of the times to be 72 hours.
We,
I also like it the way you wrote it.
do we have a problem?
There's
If
difference
it
in the
means,
legal
I'm hearing two
perspective,
people
so-
saying it doesn't matter, okay.
If it means exactly the same way, then
We could say it.
We will.
We could add that, we could say that they use all due deliberate speed to finish them. That's a joke she gets.
She's the only one laughing, so.
Okay, so we will go, because we have 10 minutes before we lose a commissioner. So we will keep it the way, well, not keep it, we will put in Commissioner Linke's request as is. There's no need to modify your request. We'll keep it that way.
Okay.
Now, the next two, let's see, what's it? Okay, the next one. Commission may submit pre-meeting questions to staff, and staff shall make reasonable efforts to answer the questions prior to the meeting consistent with city council practice. No problem there? So we're okay with that. The next two, I think I'm going to put those two on the same page. Oh, wait. Additional material received. Okay, so this is, we're going to break up this one. Yeah, this was significant change. We feel that this is something we can commit to, is additional material received by Friday before the scheduled meeting shall be distributed by staff to the commission and the public consistent with city council practice. If city council starts putting it on the website, we'll put it on the website. If city council distributes it the way I did it with a blind copy to the commissioners and then puts the hard copies out here, we will do that. We will follow their lead with the recommendation that I will post this to say, ideally, we would like this to be done, and I will bring that to the attention of the city clerk's office. That it'd be nice to have it posted on the website, it'd be nice to have these ideas, but we don't want to commit to something that is not done and not recommended for us to do.
Comment?
It kind of goes with the three. The next three are kind of all in the same vein. It's like, do what the city council does, and if we don't do something similar to city council, we can follow their lead, and since we don't videotape it, there's a little bit of a difference.
Is this something we should ask the city council to
So just
discuss?
to provide an update on that, city clerk is looking across the board at all commissions and how things are being done and with regards to the process. So that's something that will be presented by the city clerk's office, and I expect in the near future.
So the point being is for you to go ahead of them just doesn't bode well. You know, it's more likely, it'd be better to go, not our staff go to city council or you go to city council, let us work with the person that's developing that.
The city clerk's
that
office
staff
is.
report, which is the city's clerk's office.
Yeah,
So the last three items, I will make the best effort. I've been talking to them, and they are gravitating towards that. But you know, again, they have to get city council approval on some of these things on videotaping. So current practice is, you know, and I don't have it, but there's a current practice for records keeping that,
We do.
yeah. Can you hand it to me, I'll read it if you want to read it, what the current practice is?
Well, I had an email about that, but I can tell you, minutes and staff reports, they are permanent records, okay? The videos that the city council and planning has, they are permanent records. The recordings, the audio recording that we have, it is available until we get the minutes approved, and then it's no longer available. Does it help?
Okay.
So once we get video, we're in a whole different ballgame.
Right, so
But-
in the meantime, can we do detailed minutes?
We are going to do, well, we can walk through this maybe, see if this helps. I talked through Commissioner Stink, I get your, I'm thinking of your email, it's Commissioner Leakey's comments, and if you want something, so we don't go into detail on this person said, that person said, when it comes down to something that you want to say, that you want in the records, you would just say, I would like this put in the records. That's what they do. This is what the city clerk said that the council does. They can talk all they want and deliberate, and that back and forth is not going to get put in the minutes. But if you're 6-1 and you're the one person, like the minutes today, you would say, I would like
The minutes
the
to
minutes
reflect.
to reflect. And make it very concise, you know, and then we can put in the minutes and move on.
Okay. I'll make that.
Seem realistic? So those are action summary minutes.
Okay.
So that's what we would recommend, and I think going back, that's why draft minutes Whether we put minutes, if we don't have minutes approved, we'll put draft minutes would be the same thing. So if you say I wanted it in there, it will be brought to the city council's attention. If you say put it in the record.
Okay.
Okay? So the last two, we're not recommending what's in yellow, we're actually recommending that it be what we had originally, actually, yeah. We're gonna add this one.
But you are working on it, right?
Well,
You're working with our software.
yeah, I would say these are recommendations to,
The clerk's office
The
is
clerk's
aware of not only this commission's request, but other commissions as well. So they're taking a look at it, they're looking at our records retention policy and looking at it from a citywide perspective, and I expect in the near future, they'll be coming out with something pretty soon.
Yeah.
But there is a cost associated with anything that's done, and so that's all taken into consideration.
Sure.
and I believe,
Commissioner Linky.
I think we should emphasize to the city council, if we do think it's a good idea, I think we should emphasize to them at this meeting that we think it would be a good idea. Not that we're going to push it that it happens immediately, but I think if the city council is aware that its commissions feel that this is an important way to record our meetings, that maybe it'll get done faster rather than just assuming that the city clerk's office is going to do this.
There's no assumption, I'm telling you, that they are working on it right now and going through it. But certainly the commission can say, we fully support this. The city clerk's office and city council is aware of the request, so just for the record, and staff is working towards figuring out a way to make things happen. So, but certainly as a commission, if you want to make a statement or whatever through the communications plan, that's great. I just wanted to share that.
I do feel with the other ways of us communicating with the city council, going to them if we have any items, I feel that for now, I trust staff to cover that with the clerk, and if we still feel that that's not enough in a few months from now, then we can revisit it in a few months, right? I think.
Great. So for example, when we come forward on November 12th, this presentation will be there, and we can state what is there that's being proposed in the communications plan. At that time, if you will be there or send any of the designee, you can make a statement along those lines that understand that staff is working, or you don't even have to say that. If you just say, we would like to have our meetings videotaped, just like city council, make that statement. Certainly welcome to do that.
Yeah.
So.
And the reason that, and we had some of this discussion, it's not about the importance of the commissions, but if we really think about it, traffic and mobility impacts every single resident of the city.
Of course.
Right? It's from the baby that goes to preschool or whatever, driven by his parents, to the elder that walks to the park. So I feel that if we look at all the commissions, like park and recreation, not necessarily everybody goes to the park. And if they do, they're mobility, they're walking or biking or whatever. So we feel that we should give that more, not importance, but opening to the residents to know, like we had the public, that if they have any kind of issues that impacts their everyday between traffic and mobility, that they can come and express their concerns and voice here. So that's why Commissioner Linky is pushing for more publicity, if you want to put it that way, between the website and just to bring awareness to the public, to the residents, that we are here, and if this is what we can support or try to improve in the city. So yeah, that's my comment.
Yeah, I think transparency is probably the word
And
we want. Because and I asked a question, is there somewhere in there that says that the minutes are going to be, you had a term for it, that includes some of the discussion, some of the, not just the vote?
we didn't put it here, so what I would say, without getting into the minutia of that, the next step is to write your rules and regulations, and then we might go into to that that, but we want to be consistent with what we're being asked to provide. So we didn't want to be so specific on something like that when the city clerk really drives what's expected from us. So right now I have the understanding that action summary minutes, which is different than just a year ago when it was just the minutes period. So that's what I've been told, so I don't want to get out of our lane, I use that term, we got to swim our lane. Our lane is not to define when agendas get put out and circulated, that's the city clerk's job.
Could you scroll down to the bottom? So the last one that I wrote, commission records will be retained, I'm sorry, the second to the last one. It was, commission records will be made part of the permanent public record consistent with city council practice. Is there some, I'm not understanding
What
why.
do you mean by commission records?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, go ahead.
so if you look at the city council, so wait a minute, I didn't say that. If you look at the city council, they'll have an agenda item, they'll have a staff report for that agenda item, they'll have correspondence that they receive from the public or anybody else, they'll have the PowerPoint presentation that was given during that meeting by staff or by a member of the public. And then when that item gets archived on the city website, all of those elements and the minutes get stored as part of the permanent public record. But if I go back, which I just did before I came here, to March when I first joined the commission, it's a patchwork of, okay, one of my communications has been put on there, but the rest of them don't appear. All these communications that I've written, whether people read them or not, or want to read them or not, they're not part of the permanent record. Minutes that we approved after we made changes are not accurate. The old minutes are there, not the ones that we eventually approved with changes. The presentations given by staff, sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. It's this patchwork. And to me, even right now, without any additional discussion with the city clerk, that we should have a complete and accurate record of our meetings with the minutes, the staff reports, communications, correspondence, presentations. They should all be there, and I don't see any reason why there should be any controversy on that should be left out of this. Because that's a way to communicate with the public, and they can log in and see all that stuff.
So I think that staff here needs to get some clarification from the city clerk on what makes up the agenda for the commission. Because what you're referencing is all the communications that go to the council are part of the agenda. And I think there needs to be confirmation of that fact as a city practice with the city council consistently. If that's the practice, if you scroll up, the commitment here is that you'll follow the city council practice. So if correspondence is routinely included in the agenda packet, then it'll be part of the agenda packet, which is part of the permanent record, as Ali was describing. So I think it comes down to what is part of that agenda packet, if I'm understanding you correctly. So maybe staff can follow up on that point in our next meeting, if you're able to get clarification from the clerk.
And if there's something that you want to make sure that is for sure there, you just use this quote. I would like the minutes to reflect the level, the communication, whatever. I think we get.
And we have, I want to be respectful if you want Commissioner Pinster's input.
Okay.
He has to leave pretty soon, so it's fine if we don't, but at least maybe we get some input and hopefully a vote before you have to leave.
If we're ready to vote, I would be ready to vote right now. My only concern is, well, at this point, are we leaning towards sending a letter along with this or not? Because I would vote not to send.
Well, one of us is going to go there. It's either going to be me or there's a meeting. It's going to go to the meeting on the 12th.
Okay.
To express if we have anything else additional to what we are voting on.
I would say we don't need to send a letter, but I had one more question related to that, and that was, so the examples I gave of bypass, part, the only reason to send a letter, since staff has basically agreed to all those things, is, are there any items on this list that would not come to us because of some reason? In other words, we need to get guidance from the city council on staff feels that this type of item, not the specific ones, but this type would not come to us, even if they were generally related to something on our work plan.
The first bullet that we changed, we talked about that mostly today, is if action, if it goes to city council and they expect to take an action, we will have it come to you first.
But only if it's on our work plan specifically. So
Your work
That's
plan
at
is very
minimum.
generous. Your work plan is very generous.
Right.
It's in implementing the mobility element. So
That's at the minimum.
that's a commitment from us to realize that, you know, if there's something that's marginal, you know, we're going to tell you, right? In the city engineer's report, next month, city council's going to see this. That's your point to know it. We're not, you know, we will make a point of it.
So essentially, all of these then would, or almost all of these.
Well, the mechanics would be, if it's going to city council, we would comment on it, and like the Caltrans maybe, if that's one we wouldn't have gone to you, we will say, next month there's an item, or in 2 months there's an item on this, and it's an informational item because there is no action, let's say. We'll let you know that it's going to go to city council.
Commissioner Perez, do you have a comment?
No. And likewise, I'm sorry, but another one was the GMP monitoring program. We talked about that. That doesn't get sent, that gets circulated to the council. They don't have a presentation on it. You would get it the same, you know, after the council got it as the general public would.
A correction on that. So that's on the written report. However, we do present with regard to if there are deficient road segments is what had happened. And I think that was what you were referring to, is the FY17-18 presentation.
So that's what we were saying, is that the report may not come to you, but before we went to council with the action, a preferred recommendation would come to you for action. I mean, I'm sorry, for a recommendation for their action.
Okay.
Commissioner Vincier, do you have a comment?
Well, I guess what it comes back to again, are we going to go ahead and send a letter, or are you going to take a letter to the commission, to the city council next week? There was one sentence in there that I just thought was something that we.
As of right now, we're not writing any letters.
You're not going to take a letter. That's fine. Then we're ready to vote on it.
So do I get a motion so we can approve the communication plan
As revised by staff.
as
As
revised
revised by staff.
by staff?
And I move.
So Commissioner Vincier need a motion to approve the communication plan as revised by staff. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Perez seconded. Any comments or questions before we go to a vote? No? Okay, let's vote. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? No? It passed. Approve the communication plan as revised by staff.
Well, thank you for all of your input, because I think it's a better document because of your thoughtful.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Linky, for all the hard work and the time, and for educating us, the rest of us. And I really appreciate it. Commissioner Perez, looks like you have a comment, so I'm waiting.
No, I don't. It's all right. I'm trying. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so, Commissioner Vincier, do you have to leave, or you can still?
See you.